ctstradio.com.
What is up, Cleveland? Welcome back to C-Town Sports Talk. I am your host, as always, the self-proclaimed C-Town Sports Guru, Jeremy Somerville. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, and actually done a good one. Maybe to some of you, I've never done a good one. But I want to welcome you in tonight to our Cleveland Browns free agency frenzy. Live here on ctstradio.com, mixler.com/ctstradio. And, of course, Spreaker.com. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking free agents. You want to join in the conversation? Hit me up on Twitter at Somerville, SOMERVILLECLE, Somerville, CLE. You want to email me? Hit me at jeremys@clevelandsportsbulletin.com. You want to call in? Right now, we don't have a call-in number, so don't worry about that. So hit me an email, tweet, whatever you want to do. Things you want to add, things you want to argue about, whatever. So let's get into it. Tomorrow, March 9th, 2016, at 4:01 p.m., the official 2016 NFL season begins. So what does this mean for our Cleveland Browns? Well, the Cleveland Browns will have just about $50 million in cap space. $50 million. It's a hell of a lot of money to spend, especially if they spend it wisely. But if you look at this, before we even get into signing other free agents, the Cleveland Browns have 4 starters who are free agents right now. 3 of which are possibly the best players available at their position in free agency. So what are the Cleveland Browns going to do with their own free agents? Most notably, Alex Mack, center, Pro Bowler. Mitchell Schwartz, possibly the best right tackle in all of football. Travis Benjamin, who had a great season for the Browns and finally looks to be back to the speedy guy that they drafted out of Miami, getting back to the rabbit. And finally, free safety to Sean Gibson, who was an undrafted free agent who came to the Browns and became a Pro Bowler and a ball-hawking safety. Now, what will they do with their own guys is the key to what they will do with the rest of free agency. They tried to work out deals with the other guys that they have. It didn't work out that way. We'll start with Travis Benjamin, the bunny, the rabbit, whatever you want to call him. The guy finally got back to being a speed demon, a punt returner, a playmaker. On a team highly lacking in playmakers, he was a playmaker last season, especially when he was on the field with Johnny Manziel. Now, Johnny Manziel will be gone, maybe as early as tomorrow, or they could wait and cut him later on and try to save $2 million. Either way, get him off this roster, enough is enough. Back to Benjamin. Benjamin had a good season last year. He's a very productive player when healthy, whether it's alone in special teams or it's also as a wide receiver. However, I do not think that most teams will see him as a number 2, let alone anywhere near number 1. So possibly, he will be looked at as a number 3 slot receiver, special teams ace. He could get upwards of $5.5, $6 million per season. Maybe. I believe, from what I've been told, that is what he was searching for with the Cleveland Browns. 4-year deal, possibly 24 to 27 million. Is he worth that money? In my eyes, he could be, but in the right system. If the Browns can get Mohamed Sanu or Marvin Jones, who we'll talk about later, guys who understand the Hugh Jackson system and have played in it, then you can afford to let Benjamin go, especially if Josh Gordon returns as your number one receiver. More on this later. Number 2, in importance to sign, we're going in reverse order here, so let's say this is number 3 actually, before Benjamin. 3, Alex Mack. Now, how can a Pro Bowler be the third most important guy? Mainly because Alex Mack, I believe, is done in Cleveland. The other regimes treated him like garbage. He didn't see eye to eye with them. He's sick of losing. He's sick of the culture. It's the truth. I can't blame him for feeling that way, and I'm a diehard Browns fan. You cut me open, I will bleed brown and orange. However, I can also be honest about what the team really is, as I hope a lot of Browns fans can be. They're not very good. The franchise is a joke. And I believe Alex Mack has had enough and would like to move on. Now, if he goes out and finds that most guys are going to offer him, around $10 million a year, which is what he probably will be seeking as wanting to be the number one paid center in the league, then maybe the Browns will say, okay, Alex, they're offering you 4 years, $40 million. Would you take 4 years, $44 million to come back? I could see the Browns possibly doing that because of how important the center will be coming up for whoever it is will be the new franchise, and I say that in quotes, franchise guy coming in at quarterback. You can keep Mack and Thomas together, 2 stalwart Pro Bowlers, that's going to help a guy coming in. But there are other options. One of those guys who I believe was a good option if we lost, Alex Mack, Ben Jones, the center from the Texans. However, he is moving on, and he will be snapping the ball now. Excuse me. He will snap the ball now to Marcus Mariota and be blocking for DeMarco Murray in Tennessee. So he's off the list. The next guy is a 2011 Oakland Raider draft pick, a guy drafted by Hugh Jackson as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, Stefan Wisniewski. Wisniewski played last season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Will they go after Wisniewski? Possibly. However, they're looking to get younger and better and stronger up front. So he may not be the guy they go after. But they would like to keep, possibly, the guy snapping the ball to their franchise quarterback, Blake Bortles. We'll see how that plays out. But he would be the number 1 guy right now to replace Alex Mack. Number 2, Tashaun Gipson. A year ago at this time, I could not imagine the Cleveland Browns saying goodbye to a young ball-hawking safety. However, it looks, after an injury-plagued 2015 season, that this will be the way they are headed. There are other safeties out there, most notably St. Louis Rams safety Rodney McLeod. If McLeod is available and the Browns can get him for less than they would be paying Tashaun Gipson, then I believe the Browns need to make that move. I am a huge Gipson supporter. His first training camp, I was covering the Cleveland Browns for the Cleveland Sports Bulletin. It was my first day on the job when I met this young guy out of Wyoming, and I couldn't believe what a smart, intelligent, and friendly guy he was. I was just some fat dude wandering around in an ugly-ass polo shirt thinking, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Nervous as all heck. And I talked to Tashaun Gipson, and he made me feel welcome in the NFL, like I was actually somebody. Thankfully, he had no clue who I was, because he was new with the team, so it kind of helped my cause. However, even though he is a ball-hawking safety, he does struggle sometimes against the run. McLeod will not struggle against the run, and he may be just as good as a ball-hawking safety in the right system. And I believe in Ray Horton's system, he could be that. Now, if the Browns decide they do want to re-sign Tashaun Gipson, and they do give him a large deal, possibly between $6 to $9 million, per season. It could spell the end of Dante Whitner as a Cleveland Brown, because I doubt they will want to spend that much money. However, a guy like McLeod could come to you for 4 years, $24 million. Still a lot of money, but he's also a young guy, only 25 years old. And we'll see what they do there. Now, finally, my number one guy that the Browns should re-sign, right tackle Mitchell Schwartz. I say this for many reasons. This guy is a homegrown player, 37th overall pick out of Cal, and he has been here quiet, stalwart, the least penalized Browns offensive lineman last season with only 6 penalties on over 1,100 snaps. And if you want to know why I believe they should re-sign him more than anything, look at the Super Bowl. Look what Von Miller was able to do in the Super Bowl. Look what he was able to do in the AFC Championship game. Von Miller tore people up. What did he do against Mitchell Schwartz in most one-on-one matchups? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. He could not get a sack. He did not get a tackle. He did not record numbers of any sort against the Cleveland Browns right bookend. Now, what will it cost to retain the services of the young Mitchell Schwartz? It will cost big money. $8 to $10 million. I guarantee you that. Is a right tackle worth that amount of money? Right now, I believe the answer is yes. As young as he is, as good as he is, he may develop into the guy who can slide over eventually and replace Joe Thomas in a couple of years. He's still young enough that he could do that. 27 years old. We'll see what happens, though. Atlanta is a team after him. Atlanta's after all of our free agents. Travis Benjamin, Alex Mack, possibly Gibson, and Mitchell Schwartz. But we'll see what's happening as this comes up at 4:01 p.m. tomorrow. Now, teams can already talk the free agents. They can set up deals. However, the deals cannot become official until the league year begins at 4:01 p.m. So the Jaguars, they've been busy today. They've added defensive end Malik Jackson from the Broncos. They've added Chris Ivory. They've been working. The Raiders also got Kalichi Osemele from the Ravens for $11 million a year at a guard. So the Jaguars adding people, the Raiders adding people, and Osemele at $11 million a year. You know what that tells me? My $8 to $10 million number on Mitchell Schwartz could definitely skyrocket. My $10 million valuation on possibly Alex Mack will skyrocket. These numbers are going to be astronomical this offseason. I put out numbers that possibly were in the low ballpark, but they're probably what they're worth. Now, with the salary cap rising and players, making tons and tons more money, which is good, I guess, because in the NFL it's not for long. Understandable. This offseason, Marvin Jones is a guy the Browns might look at. The amount of money that man may get could be sickening. He's a number 2 guy who may get paid like a number 1. Back to the Raiders, though. The Raiders added Osemele at $11 million, another guy to block for Derek Carr. They also picked up just recently, tweeted out by Adam Schefter, Bruce Irvin, another pass rusher to go across from Aldon Smith. The Raiders, building the way a team should through the draft and then adding crucial pieces during free agency that can help them. Guys who can come in and help immediately. This is what the Cleveland Browns should have been doing all along, and hopefully we'll eventually get on track to doing. Now we'll move on to guys who the Browns should take a look at. I'll start with guys on the lesser end of the totem pole here. Maybe a guy like right tackle Andre Smith from Cincinnati. Andre Smith last season had an awful year. He looked like garbage. However, he understands the Hugh Jackson system, and I believe